Hasn't been that long since Sony first launched the XZ Premium camera, which shoots video at 960 FPS. Extremely slow motion. But the company is already about to push out a new phone called the XZ1. This is basically a slightly more affordable version of the XZ Premium, bringing down the high-end features like that slow-mo that I mentioned, as well as something the company calls a motion eye camera, which has a bunch of new features that we got a chance to check out here at IFA 2017. Let's start with that camera. It can do a bunch of new things. First of all, a 3D scanning app allows you to create a scan of your face in about 30 to 60 seconds. This, according to the company, is the first time a smartphone is able to do this, and you can eventually print these out with partner 3D printing companies or hopefully upload them to Facebook or Instagram. Of course, Sony is working with different partners to try to get this working, and we won't see this necessarily at launch, but eventually you may find some uses for this 3D scan you create of yourself. Another new feature for the motion eye camera in the XZ1 is a predictive capture tool that is a little tricky to understand. When you frame up your shot and press the shutter button, the camera will go back in time about a second and notice all the moments when there were sudden bursts of movement or when a person has smiled, and save those shots for you as well. So after you save the picture and go into your gallery to look at it, it'll offer different options for you and tell you when these movements or smiles were detected. The motion eye camera also has a new tool called autofocus burst. What it means is when you hold down the shutter button to take burst shots, it will keep every shot in focus. And when we tested this with the Sony rep holding up a phone while I walked towards him, every shot did appear crystal clear up until the last one, which probably is because I got too close to the camera anyway. And one final update to the cameras on the XZ1 is a display flash to the selfie camera, which means you can take pictures in the dark without having to look for a light source. Now, the rest of the XZ1 is sort of a watered-down version of the XZ Premium. You have an HDR screen, but it's at a 1080p resolution as opposed to the higher resolution on the XZ Premium. This time, though, Sony is actually announcing that it will support and play by default YouTube, Netflix, and Amazon videos in HDR where available. This means you'll get brighter colors and better contrast and details when playing videos on these three services, so that's kind of a bonus to look for. As for the rest of the specs, you'll have a Snapdragon 835 CPU, which means this phone is capable of using gigabit LTE when your carrier deploys it. It'll also be one of the first phones to run Android O, which is Oreo now we know, out of the box. The XZ1 may not feel as good as the XZ Premium does, but it still has a full metal body, which, according to Sony, helps with antenna performance. The XZ1's autofocus burst feature, as well as some of the other motion eye tools, will come to the older phones with the motion eye camera as a software update. There's also a smaller version of the XZ1 that's going to be launched at the same time called the XZ1 Compact. It has a smaller 4.6-inch 720p display instead of the bigger 5.2-inch Full HD one on the XZ1, as well as no HDR support, so you're really getting a lower-end display here. Those phones will be available sometime in September, with all four colors coming to the US. These are black, warm silver, moonlit blue, and Venus pink. There's nothing groundbreakingly new about the phones that Sony has made this time around, but it is nice to see them bringing high-end features to a more affordable range of devices. Now, we don't know how much these phones are going to cost yet, but they're at least going to be not the $700 that the XZ Premium will cost you. And that is good news for the rest of us. Stay tuned to Engadget.com for more news out of IFA 2017.